You are listening to the Business Casual Podcast, and I'm your host, Carissa from CarissaLene.com. Hey there, welcome to episode 2 of the Business Casual Podcast. And so today, yesterday I mentioned to you and I was talking to you about what I'm doing for the podcast launch. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to episode 1, all right? Get inside of the launch festivities by going to thebusinesscasualpodcast.com and then come back to this episode, all right? But so today I want to talk to you because I mentioned how I had switched to from ConvertKit. I migrated from ConvertKit to ActiveCampaign as my email provider service. And so I want to kind of talk to you about that transition a little bit because it just recently happened and I just did everything. Well, not everything. I just finalized everything early January. So I really want to share those details and kind of get you to see my decision behind it and how, so far how I'm liking things. All right. So ConvertKit is an email provider that allows you to, of course, send emails, create email courses, do some basic automations and things like that to really get your email marketing, take it up a notch. A lot of the famous ones are like MailChimp or Aweber. One of my favorite free ones is called MailerLite, but I'll link to all these, so don't worry. They're going to be in the blog and the show notes, so you can get access to that. But so these are some email providers that you can use to send out emails to your email subscribers, right? And so I was with ConvertKit for about a year before I switched over, and I love them. I definitely still recommend them, depending on your level of where you are currently with your email marketing and where you want to be in the near future. I think assessing those two things really will determine what direction or who you choose to work with when it comes to your email providers. So with ConvertKit, I was leaving MailChimp, thankfully, because I wasn't a fan of MailChimp. So when I got ConvertKit and saw just this the ease of use, I really was able just to get in there and get started immediately. I loved it. I fell in love with it and have been a huge fan of them. And so, a supporter of them ever since. So it became a time where I was teaching, of course, sales funnels, and I was putting them in place myself. And it became a little bit like a piecemeal, I had to use my ConvertKit for the emails and use something else for the payments and use something else for, other things. And so I was piecemealing all these different pieces together to make it work. And while it did work and it was a great piecemeal strategy, it became, cumbersome to do that over and over again. And I want to try out a lot of things, and I want to be able to just pretty much duplicate what I just did, easily. And while they do make that kind of easy when you're setting it up in ConvertKit, it's not easy when you're trying to do the automations behind it. So, even for instance, for having a webinar, you can't necessarily, I couldn't necessarily send out a series of emails to go out by the minute or by the hour based on the webinar time. Now you can, though. Now they recently updated that within the last month or so. So you are able to do that now, but at that time it wasn't. So it was little things like that was creeping up, and then became bigger things. I really want to do some really, take my email marketing up a whole nother level and do things like target my subscribers based on what pages they viewed on my website. So a lot of times people, go to your Work With Me page anticipating to see something that they may catch their eye, or go to your shop, or they may go to your, some page on your website, and you really want to see how far they're scrolling, or if they just go to the page, you want to be able to target them in a specific manner, right? So if my subscriber goes to my Work With Me page, then they probably are interested in working with me. And if they didn't necessarily check out, or if they didn't, follow through with applying for whatever the service they're interested in, then I probably need to follow up with them to see, what's going on, what stopped them, how can I help them in any of that, right? Now, of course, I would love to do that, personally for everybody that does go to my Work With Me page, but that would be, ridiculous. And so ConvertKit doesn't have that kind of feature. And so I began to decide, do I want to stay here and just kind of wing it out? not worry about those kind of things, and just, stick with what they have and work with it, because I do like it. And then it became, the idea of just switching and migrating everything over became a instant headache. Or do I, decide to do something more, to go with something that has a lot more automations and the things that I really want to try, like event automations, like I just mentioned, the whole going to a certain page or clicking on a certain link or something like that, and I can trigger that to send an email, do certain things, in my email provider, right? So I began looking, and I was looking at Drip and ActiveCampaign. Now, I'm not really going to talk about Drip because I tried them out, and it wasn't that they were horrible or anything like that, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was too much. And it was, I think, for one, the biggest frustration was that it required a lot of coding, custom coding. Like, you couldn't even have a regular form that you would inside a ConvertKit or MailChimp or anything like that. I mean, that was impossible without having to insert code. And listen, that's more work, and I am not about to, custom code every single form on my website. That just made it, that made me immediately be turned off. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going that route. So ActiveCampaign, though, when you look at it, it's a lot. Like, it's a whole lot to look at, and you're like, okay, I see automations, I see campaigns, I see contacts, I see reports. You see all these different things you can click on and play with and figure out, and it's like, where do I start? So it's a little bit overwhelming by the at first sight. However, once you get the kind of flow of it and how the forms work, the automations work, and the tags work, and all that stuff, it becomes a lot easier, right? But so with all that being said, I eventually, of course, went to ActiveCampaign, and I began to changing out my forms first on my website. I'll change out those, and then I went to make sure, because when you create a form, you can create it. You can add them to a list, or you can add them to a tag. I think that's one of my features, like emailing you. Like, for instance, if you wanted to create a form on your site that was, I don't know, a contact form, maybe. You can have it to where it can email you their information when they submit the form. So that's a cool little feature too, right? But so the main two that I use, though, subscribe to a list or add a tag. And so when I can do that from the form settings, and then from there, I'm able to also add a URL for like a thank you page or tripwire. And I'll talk about tripwires later if you're not too sure what that means. But so that's kind of like the form setup. And then I go to automations. I can hook up an automation to that form, or I can hook up a campaign to the form. I can do all these cool features in there. But ideally, though, I was really impressed with the marketing, with the automations that really up levels your marketing. So if you're like on the fence with email providers and deciding like which one you want to choose, which one you want to play with, this is what I recommend. If you are just starting out with no email list, you don't want to spend a lot of money yet, you want to test the waters, you want to figure out how this email thing works, I definitely recommend just going free for now, right? Especially if you don't have a really solid plan yet as to how you're going to tackle your email list, start free. And I would start with MailerLite, and I'll link again in the show notes in the blog as well. But MailerLite is a very similar to like ConvertKit, but very basic, right? So you can still get similar to MailChimp as well. So it has like the drag and drop editor and things like that, but it is not as clunky, I guess you can say. So MailerLite and MailChimp would be my first two options. When you're ready to kind of take it to the next level, create email courses, use some basic automations with some features that they have automations integrated with, like Teachable or Gumroad or something like that. If you're ready to, really start to get serious with creating email autoresponder series, then I would say ConvertKit would be the next option. ConvertKit is $30 a month at the cheapest, $29 a month at the cheapest. So that's definitely something you have to think about. And if it's worth it, I definitely think it's worth it if you have a plan in place to grow your email list in the next 30 days or so. If you can do that, you can start making money from your email list, or you can start using your email list to start promoting your services and your products to make money, to at least to make $30 back per month, right? So I definitely think you can go that route if that's your goal. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced than that, if you have emails or email series already together, if you are ready to try out different types of event tracking and goal tracking. You're ready to really target people based on what they do on your website, based on how they read your emails or how they click through your emails. If you want to see a visual editor, like a visual automation, marketing automation that you put together, because that's a huge benefit to ActiveCampaign, is that it's similar to the whole Infusionsoft kind of look, where you can actually see every step of the way what your subscriber will do and have done in your automation. So basically, you can set an automation to they click your form, they opt in, they get your freebie, they get the first email, they get email number 2 over in 24 hours, email number 3 24 hours later after that, and so on and so forth. You can actually see every single step, and you can go even further if you wanted to see specifically with a subscriber. You can click on their name in your contact list to see exactly where they went in your automation. And you can make them as simple and as complex as you want them to be. And I think that's amazing. Like, just being able to see that. And that was one of my big downfalls with ConvertKit, was I wasn't able to see the automations that I was setting up. So I wasn't really sure, all the time if things was going like as it should, right? Or if I needed to fix something, I didn't really know what to fix right away because I couldn't see what the problem was. So being able to see the automations in every step of the way really, really, really helps when you're trying to, you're trying to take it to the next level. And if that's the case, and I definitely recommend ActiveCampaign. It's actually a little cheaper than ConvertKit, but a little more confusing. So ConvertKit, you can get in there, create an email, and get started right away. ActiveCampaign, you can, but it's a little bit more, setting up to do than ConvertKit. But all in all, my 3 choices would be MailerLite to start off with no email list and no money being spent. Then ConvertKit with $29 a month being spent if you're ready to start the email courses and a little bit of automation. And then it will be ActiveCampaign if you're really ready to increase your email list and make your email list work for you as far as doing the whole educating, giving value, but also selling to your email list and, getting really smart about your automations. So that's that. That is my kind of spill on that. That is some of the reasons why I chose ActiveCampaign, really because I am really focused on my email marketing, and I want to be able to do a lot more than just send emails or send an email course dripped out emails. I want to be able to do a lot more than that, and ActiveCampaign allows me to do that. And I really found that you can do a whole lot more than what I thought. I could play around with a lot of things and do, and based on certain actions and based on certain triggers and events, or even what they don't do. Like if people don't open your email or don't click a link or don't go to your website, or don't go to a certain page or whatever it is, you can target them to do certain things, or at least communicate with you to figure out what's going on. One really cool feature that I'm using actually right now for the podcast launch is that I'm able to track people that are engaging with my emails and sending these emails out to their friends or social media, and be able to give them a numerical number. So a number value that is basically saying, for every person that shares my emails to social media, they get 2 points, right? And those points add up every single time, so that I can tally them up at the end of this week, and I can give them a prize for doing that. So that's also part of my podcast strategy, which I talked about a little bit in episode 1. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to it right now. But all in all, ActiveCampaign wins hands down for all of its marketing automation. And they're growing still. ConvertKit is newer, though. So ConvertKit still has some growing pains. So still some things that they're struggling with. But all in all, though, all 3 of those that I mentioned are great companies and can really do what they say they're going to do with your email list. So that's my spill on all that. I definitely will give the links to all the ones that I recommended, and that we can try them out for yourself. And of course, they will be affiliate links because I'm all about sharing what I love and what I use regularly, and also because I am all about getting a piece of the pie when I can, and I'm teaching you how to do the same thing too. So using being able to create passive income just by sharing with you what I use, so you can do the same thing for your audience and for your email list as well. All right. So that's all I want to share with you today. Check out episode 1 if you haven't checked it out already, and be sure to hop inside the podcast launch festivities so that you can go ahead and be a part of what's going on and be able to get one of the many prizes that I'm giving away throughout this entire week. All right. So I'll chat with you soon. Bye, you guys. So that's it. That wraps up today's episode of the Business Casual Podcast. If you loved today's episode, I would so appreciate it if you go on over to iTunes and subscribe and leave a review and a comment to let everyone know how much you enjoyed today's episode and the podcast in general. If you would like to, please share this out with any of your friends on social media. You can always keep up to date with all things the Business Casual Podcast on thebusinesscasualpodcast.com. And if you want to join a fabulous group of new and inspiring business owners, then I highly recommend you join us inside of the Launchers Lounge on Facebook simply by going to thebusinesscasualpodcast.com/community, and I'll meet you there. Don't forget, if you're on Stitcher, rate and review us there. We are hanging out on Stitcher as well. And of course, if you want to be a guest on the show, or if you just want to get your question answered, go to thebusinesscasualpodcast.com/ask, and I will answer your question live on the show. And that's all for today. I'll see you on the next episode of the Business Casual Podcast. Bye, you guys.